In this video, I really want to talk about a simple tip, or at least something that you should know when it comes to fishing a Whopper Plopper. But right before I sat down, I realized that this really applies to pretty much every single lure category out there, not just Whopper Plopper fishing. And I even had a conversation with a guy on a podcast the other day that kind of revolved around this. And so in this video, I'm gonna talk about this really simple thing that can really help you to get more bites, bigger bites, as well as put more fish in the boat that are hitting our baits. Now, before we get into it, this video is brought to you by Finn Fishing Apparel. And right now for the month of June, so for about another week, I am running a package deal over on the website. If you buy a USA made sun shirt, one of the only ones made in the US, you will actually get a free rod glove of your liking, whatever you like. I got spinning rod gloves, I got bait cast rod gloves, and it's real easy to take advantage of. All you gotta do, add the USA made sun shirt to cart, add the rod glove that you want to cart, and there is no limit to this. If you get 2 sun shirts, you can get 2 free rod gloves as well. So I'm gonna leave links down below in the description. Shopping at Finn Fishing is truly the best way to help support this channel, and I greatly appreciate it. All right, let's talk about this really simple thing when it comes to fishing Whopper Ploppers and a number of different lures. And this actually happened to me a number of years ago. I was fishing kind of the standard size Whopper Plopper, the one that I feel like a lot of anglers actually fish, which is like the 110 size. The 110, the 105, it's kind of like that 4-inch, 4.5-inch Whopper Plopper. To me, it's not too big, it's not too small. It's the one that I really like, and I fish it most of the time. Now, I actually got on a decent plopper bite on a lake locally, and the fish, I was catching like half of the fish that bit it. Like, I was getting a lot of bites, and the ones that bit it typically were big fish, but I was missing a ton of fish. And sometimes that this happens with topwater fishing in general, but it just didn't make sense to me because the ones that got it had it sideways, like they had the thing absolutely across the mouth. And the ones that missed it, like I just literally didn't understand what was going on. And so I first started playing with colors, and nothing really changed when I went with colors. And then I decided to go from the 110 size down to the smaller size, which is a 90. I really like that 90. I've used it a lot. And guess what? Same thing was happening, but what I realized is I was also not getting near as many bites. They wanted that kind of bigger presence, that bigger plopping noise. So I started not only missing fish, but I wasn't getting near as many bites. And so like I just kind of thought for a while, like this is just what I'm gonna have to do. Like I'm just gonna have to weed through a lot of fish. I'm missing a lot of fish, but I'm gonna have to weed through a lot of them before I actually get some to bite. And then I would love to say that I sat here and actually thought about this, but what had happened was I actually lost my Whopper Plopper on a muskie. Big muskie came up there, snatched my Whopper Plopper, broke my braid, Whopper Plopper gone. And of course, I did not have the right color. I did not have that color in that size that I really wanted. And a lot of times I don't think color matters, but in this situation, I was just like, I wanted that color. But guess what I did have? I had one of the bigger Whopper Ploppers, a 130 size in the boat with me that was that color. And I was getting so many bites, I was like, you know what? Might as well just tie this on anyways. I tied it on, and wouldn't you know it, I started hooking and landing almost every single fish that bit on this day. Almost every single fish. I was not losing, I lost a couple, but very few were missing the bait like they were before. And I honestly, I don't really understand it, but it just seems like because it was a bigger presence, those fish were hitting it harder. I was getting just as many bites, if not more bites with that 110 or with the bigger size than the 110 size. And I was absolutely blown away by this. And from then, I have heard so many small things that kind of, from that day, I've heard so many things that kind of correlate with this exact same sentiment, that sometimes simply going bigger, there's something that it does to a bass and a bass's behavior that oftentimes gets these fish to just commit to the bait. You know, we've seen this a lot with swim bait fishing, and something that I have noticed, and I actually had a conversation, I did a podcast the other night on the Bass Juice podcast, which I will link at the very end of this video with Oliver and I, but we talked a little bit about this, that sometimes when you're out there fishing, a lot of us think to downsize our baits when really upsizing your baits actually gets you just as many, if not more, bites out there on the water, because it's simply like the fish have not seen this lure. They have not felt this presence. And sometimes going from kind of that average size bait like the Whopper Plopper 110 and actually going up to a bigger bait will get you the same amount of bites, but the aggression of those bass kind of increases, where it seems like they start eating the bait a little bit better. I don't always know the exact reason why, but I've seen this not only with Whopper Ploppers, but like I said, a number of different baits out there on the market. And sometimes you see it with even like baits that you wouldn't think about. For example, like a plastic worm. I've told this story 1,000 times, I feel like, before, but I fished a tournament a long time ago, and like everybody on this lake was throwing shaky heads for bass. And I decided to, instead of throw a shaky head, I'm gonna throw a big 10.5-inch worm, a Zoom Old Monster worm, which was, you know, at the time we were fishing on a lake that still to this day, it only really produces like 10-pound bags, like winning weight. And so a 10.5-inch, 11-inch worm on a fishery where you're catching a lot of 12-inch fish doesn't always make sense. But I thought to throw it, and I started throwing it, and lo and behold, not only me, but another angler, one of my best friends, was doing the exact same thing, and he almost won the tournament. I got checked. We both got checks in this particular tournament. And I'll never forget, like, showing up to the weigh-in, talking to one of these guys at the weigh-in, and he's like, dang, man, like, how did you catch him? I showed him my worm, and he's like, he was blown away by it, because I knew that we were fishing in some of the exact same areas. Like, this is a very small lake. I saw him a lot, like we're cordial, like we're good friends, so like I don't mind if he's fishing where I'm fishing, like it happens. He was fishing a shaky head almost the entire day, but he was again fishing a bait that a lot of bass had already seen. I was showing them something that they had not seen. And so it's just a lot of times in bass fishing, we don't always think about it, but I think it happens more in warm water situations, and here we are in the summertime, that sometimes upping the size of your bait, really going with those bigger offerings, can get you a lot of bites, even when it doesn't make sense. Even when you go to lakes that you have small fish populations, or you like have high pressure, whatever it may be, a lot of times we're thinking to downsize, use small baits. And I'm not saying that that doesn't work often, but sometimes going bigger is the best thing that you can do. And so I just wanted to make a quick video about that. I think it's really important going into the summertime. Guys, I hope you enjoyed it. Hey, and also if you want to check out that podcast, I'll leave it linked right up here. And if you want to check out that fin fishing deal, it's linked right over here. All right, guys, see you tomorrow.